In this session, we're going to be talking about profiles. Let's see what profile is. Profile defines what a user can do in Salesforce. A profile controls access to objects, fields, tabs, pages, record types, login hours, and login IP ranges. So basically, profile controls a lot of things. If we don't give access on the user's profile, or by using the profile, we can give access to particular objects, fields. For example, we can give access to account and not give access to another object. And a user can have only one profile, but the same profile can be assigned to many users. Okay. So then why profiles? Why do we have to use them? So for example, in any given company that uses Salesforce, admins should decide what kind of access users or employees, or sometimes called agents, from various departments should have to Salesforce. For example, users or employees from contact center should have different level of access than users from marketing department. Or same thing, users from customer support department should have different access. And in this scenario, for each different group, we would create a new profile and assign it to them. And using that profile, we will control their access. You can create profiles according to users' job responsibilities. For example, if your employees from the customer support department need use Salesforce, and if you need to create a profile for them, you could just name it as customer support or sales representatives. And also we have system administrator profile, the default profile, which is assigned to system admins to build and configurations, to build and configure Salesforce. So when it comes to types of Salesforce, we have two types of them. A standard profile. These are the default profiles provided by Salesforce. We cannot delete them. Standard profiles do not allow much customizations, and that's an important feature. Each of these standard one includes a default set of permissions for all the standard objects available on the platform. System admin profile has the widest access to data and the greatest ability to configure and customize Salesforce. So you would not assign system admin profile to users, to other users, but it will only be assigned to admins, app builders, developers, and architects. To the people, or it is for the people who build things on Salesforce. Then we have custom profiles. Then why do we need to create custom profiles? The reason is because of this. Standard profiles cannot be customized much. Let's say you have a standard profile. By using that standard profile, you want to give users access to, for example, to the custom object we have created. Salesforce does not allow that to do. Okay. So for that reason also, and also as a best practice, most of the time, you'd be creating a custom profile for the users and then assign that instead of assigning them standard one because of that limitation. Custom ones defined by us admins, so we create the custom profiles. Custom profiles are very, very flexible. They can be edited and to give or remove access. They don't have limitations like standard profiles. When a new user is created, a custom profile is assigned to the user rather than a standard profile because of that flexibility. Again, they can be deleted if there are no users assigned with that particular profile. In order to create a new custom profile, we can clone an existing one and rename it. So I use this analogy. So if we use building, apartment, room, and room items analogy, it will help us understand that Salesforce, it will help us understand the Salesforce data model security. For example, org access, for example, the login access, login hours, give users access to Salesforce org. If Salesforce is a big building, then the login hours defined on the user's profile controls access to the building, right? Once, let's say you get into the building, you need to get to the apartment, then we can think of that as an object in Salesforce. Okay, so your access to the apartment or to your apartment or to somebody else's apartment, think of that as if it is controlled by your profile. Then we have this record access. I use this in analogy. Say, think of this as access to the room. Once you get into the room, you need to get into the, sorry, once you get into the apartment, you need to get into the rooms, and that for that, Salesforce has another mechanism to control it. Then if you want to access, let's say, items in the room, then such as table, chair, TV, you can make that similar to like field access in Salesforce. Okay, it's just an analogy for you to imagine how it works. So here we have, if you go to profiles, for example, let's go to, okay, I was on this page, but if we want to go to profiles, we go to this home tab. After setup, they go to home tab and then search for profiles. And we see these profiles, right? So those that are custom, it's marked over here, okay? For example, these are custom ones. Even though I haven't created them, when I created this org, Salesforce created these custom profiles for me, and they are marked custom over here. Everything else is standard. So everything else that you see on this page is standard. If I expand this window, let's say I want to see all my profiles, I can change that from there. And I see this one also read only, that's also custom. And the system admin one that I have been using to build or configure Salesforce, that's the one that I have assigned to myself. And you can also navigate from here to easily, let's say you want to find a profile that starts with D, you can click there and get there. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I open a profile, for example, let's say the standard user profile, I get this view. All right, I get this view. And if I want to edit something, let's say I want to edit something and give users access to extra, to open them, to increase their access level, by using the standard profile, what Salesforce allows me to do is it allows me to give access to certain custom apps, for example. I can control access to these apps. You see, if I remove this, the user will not have access to this LMS app. And that's one control Salesforce allows me to do. But let's say another thing with the standard profile, I can arrange the tabs. For example, what is a tab? So this thing is a tab, right? This card changes from there. This is your tab. This is your tab. This is your tab. Okay, this is your tab. I could make that tab default off or on, okay, or tab hidden by using the standard profile. Standard profile allows me to modify that access to the tabs. And other than that, for example, if I want to give extra permissions, I cannot edit this part. All right. And also, I have, for example, accounts, right? So let's say I want to give extra access to accounts. I cannot edit this part. And let's say I want to give my user access to these objects that I have created. These are my custom objects. I cannot edit this part. Well, that's the limitation I was mentioning to you earlier of standard objects. You can't give extra access other than what's defined here. For example, you could modify the password policies, and you could do tab settings and also give or remove access to applications. But that's pretty much it. That's why we create custom profiles and use them. Now, this view is not a good view because you have to scroll down too much to find certain things. And By default, everyone will have this view, but we're going to change that, okay? I'm going to go to user management settings, and from there, I will enable this one, enhanced profile user interface. It says browse, search, and modify settings and permissions in a profile through a streamlined user interface. So I'm going to enable that. So once that is enabled, then if I go back to my profile, then what I see is if I click on the standard user profile, I get a more concise and nicer view. Okay, nicer view. Now, if I want to give access to objects, I can click here and go there and give access. But since this is a standard object, it won't let me to give access to the objects or also access to my custom objects. See, for example, I want to increase access. It doesn't let me to increase that. All right. So I have some field level access here, but I cannot change this. Now, if I change to, for example, student object, student, which is a custom object that we have created, right? And here it is. That's how we can switch from one object to another. And I'm navigating there. See, I have to edit this part to give the permission to the user, but it's not allowing me to do that. That's why we create custom objects, custom profiles. They are more flexible. And also we'll keep this view so that we can easily navigate back and forth. All right. So if you would like, you could also change that under the user management settings. You enable this option, enhanced profile user interface.